A.D. Vance has now made this famous Thomas Aquinas' idea, probably goes back to Augustine, of Ordo Amoris. Resources are limited. The ideal is to provide aid to everybody, but that's an ideal. I mean, at some point, which people group are you more responsible for? And the idea that Trump has had and has been, proclaiming since he became a politician and the president now, for that, is America first. And it's not immoral to take care of those that are directly in your care more than those that are not or indirectly related to you. It's not immoral to do that.
That's the principle even at the core of the life of the church. I mean, the kind of deacon, the role of deacons, and sort of these ideas of, the structure of the church in Acts, and the way that we are kind of taught to care for those in our immediate vicinity within the community first. Now, again, I'm not saying that as an example of our political structure needs to look that way, but at least if you're talking to someone who claims to be a believer, like you said, these are not immoral ideas.
I mean, one can apply this to one's own life. I mean, we both have little children. If we were doing all this great ministry outside of our homes and our children were malnourished because we weren't providing for them, I mean, that doesn't make sense.
No, right? And that's a really good point. I'm familiar with examples of just beyond dedicated pastors and missionary parents whose children are essentially estranged from them.
Yeah. Or become atheists and stuff, right? Because there's a malnourishment. There's so much effort and attention put into those outside of one's central unit, the family, that those in that central unit. Now look, to be fair, the apostles do go out, and we never hear of Peter's wife except I think once in the whole gospel. So we don't know. There is, in a sense, but Paul also says remain single if you can, like me, so that you don't have to worry about your family, about a biological family too. So we understand there's a tension there, but by and large, I think we all tend to intuitively know that God wants us to take care of our immediates, those immediately dependent on us, and not forsake them under certain special circumstances. Sure, maybe. So apply that to national governance instead of local governance, family, community, etc. And it's like this idea that Trump has and has had of taking care of America first. I mean, it's not like a wrong or aberrant idea or notion. It's just not. And foreign aid is still going to be done.
Yeah, of course.
It's
not, and I don't think it's meant to be absolute. Like I could see some of these ideas being almost seasonal in a way, where his goal, again, giving it the most, all the ways that he communicates aside, if the goal of the program is to stabilize us internally.
It happens all the time in the life cycle of nations and cultures, that there are moments of contraction and focusing on, because the internal problems, the internal infrastructures, the internal the culture in itself has started to decay in such a way that you have to limit your outreach, right? I mean, that's not unusual, right? So, I mean, I'm no political historian, but I mean, I think that's a fairly obvious fact. If the families in our country aren't doing well, if our communities, our big cities are not doing well, that there's some kind of contraction and focus back on the inner life of the nation, and that's going to have some effects on what we can do with regards to helping or assisting other people in other places. So, but again, even there, it's like this is just one program, and I thought, I mean, I think Olson was really making a mountain out of a molehill in this
Sure.
case. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you illustrated that well. You mentioned the kind of idea of world police, right? So if we think that any removal of aid is directly killing people,
Yeah.
right?
Which is incoherent.
There's
That's just
yes, you mentioned the
incoherent.
law of double effect,
Yeah.
which I was going to
But
mention as
because
well.
the way the media wants to spin this, and I hope Roger Olson isn't doing this, is that, the way the media does spin it would be Donald Trump or the Trump administration is killing people in removing aid. Okay. So it's not a removal of aid that kills the person, right? It's the conditions on the ground, the disease, the corruption in the local governments, the economic problems, and as we found it, as I put in that one report, the moral corruption. People kill people. These are many nations we help are just violent nations. There's tons of crime, right? There's tons of crime. So these are the proximate causes of the death, the malnutrition, the starvation, etc. You're trying to alleviate those with the aid, but you can't say a lack of something is what does the killing. That just makes no sense, right? A lack of aid kills nobody. What kills people are the things that aid is trying to relieve or abrogate, right? So, but it's painted as Trump or the conservative or the Trump administration is killing people if they remove this aid. And that's just false, right? That's just incoherent and false. But it sounds good. It's rhetorical. I don't think Donald Trump or the State Department intends for those people to die, right? So even if it was the case that removing the aid would indirectly result in more deaths, that doesn't mean that's what the intention of the removal of the aid is. It's an unintended effect, but you can't ascribe intentionality to the State Department or the Trump administration for cutting the aid.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
almost a pseudo sunk cost fallacy thing where as soon as you show up to help, like just like pulling out of Afghanistan, pulling out of really anywhere, there are always going to
Yeah.
be
Did pulling
good
out of
things that are being
Afghanistan
done.
cause a bunch of people to get beheaded the next day, which they probably did. Probably some interpreters that I worked with, if they were still alive, they would have got killed pretty quickly. Did pulling out of Afghanistan, was that the cause of Afghani deaths? No, the Taliban was the cause. So you can't go down that route. And with regards to the world police, if you wanted to reverse it, then say like, well, okay, so what causes a lot of death in a lot of the countries that were receiving the greatest amount of aid is crime, right? And I posted a link to a ProPublica article. I mean, crime, sexual violence, tribal rivalries, gang activity. This is what's causing the majority of deaths in a lot of the countries that received USAID. Okay, so if you're going to say removing this is going to cause so and so many deaths, the inverse of that is the more aid we give, the less people will die. Well, then let's apply that to the moral problem, the problem of crime. Why are we not then tackling or sending policing forces to stop violent criminals from killing innocent villagers and citizens and city dwellers. Why not police the world? Because we probably could do it better than the local Congolese government, police station. Or my brother goes to Nigeria a lot. We could probably police up certain parts of Nigeria better than the local police could. So why not do that? Because that'll result in less deaths. So I would like to see Roger Olson write that article, because that would be consistent. Then you say like, okay, we got to send more financial aid, but we also got to send more boots on the ground to do policing work in these other countries, because what's causing the majority of deaths in a lot of these countries is crime.
Yeah.
Criminal activity.
Yeah. Well, and it gets at the heart of why foreign policy, why all of this stuff is complicated and difficult, right? Like you can't just throwing money at a problem doesn't necessarily fix it. People receiving aid or intervention don't necessarily benefit from it in the way that we hope. We kind of have a long history of very complex foreign policy. Now, there's some really like shining examples. I mean, just the biggest one probably being America's involvement in World War II. Just seeing this still kind of strong gratefulness toward the United States for its intervention in the generations of families who were directly oppressed by Nazi Germany.
Right. And look, and
that's huge, but it's not perfect, right?
Yeah, and I'm somebody who leans towards interventionism when there's great evil. I always feel like, if possible, intervene. Nigel Bigger, I mean, just this is a little off topic. Well, it's related, but there's a great book by Nigel Bigger. I don't know if he's at Oxford anymore. He may be retired now, but called In Defense of War, where he gives a defense of the intervention in Iraq and also in Bosnia-Herzegovina. And I think he makes a very compelling case that even if the whole WMDs and everything was a total hoax and the Bush administration made it up like everybody thinks they did, that there still may have been justification for the Iraq War simply based on the brutality of that regime towards its own people. That you could call it a policing intervention, in that Saddam Hussein was so torturous of so many Iraqis that it wasn't immoral for Britain and the United States and the Allies to get involved to stop that evil from happening. Now, isolationists and stuff, they won't want to hear that, because that doesn't have anything to do with us and blah, blah, blah. And we just talked about the Ordo Amoris, where you would want to take care of your own. But I would say there may be a place, you just mentioned World War II, where an intervention in something going on that is a great evil may compel you to neglect your own community for a time, or sacrifice the health and well-being of your own community for a time. I mean, that's what World War I and World War II were. America suffered and sacrificed, and its community sacrificed, because there were greater evils that could not be ignored.